This is Tiny Potato Productions for your very first online lesson. Short one, and here's why. All we really have to do today is to wrap up the last 3 slides that I wanted to do for you on Chapter 8. And that is just getting a sense of how to use your idea of what the data is in order to figure out what hypothesis test to use. So thing is, what I've got here is 3 slides, each one of which uses a different hypothesis test, but all of them are comparing essentially the same 2 numbers. So let's take a look at what we've got. First off here, the Greek community is always claiming that their GPA is great in an effort to demonstrate that joining the Greek community raises your GPA. Not necessarily the case, and here's why. There's a selection bias. For one, if you don't have a high enough GPA, you're automatically kicked out of the Greek data set, whereas if you are on campus and you don't have such a GPA, you don't get to go anywhere. You're still part of the mean. Nevertheless, let's just take a look at the raw numbers. CNU student body has a mu GPA of 2.85. I made that up, that's just for fun. You take a sample of 37 members of the Greek community to see if their GPA is significantly different. Their average is 3.13. Their standard deviation is 0.84. Now, I said those 37 people, that sample's standard deviation is 0.84. And the question is, what statistical test do you use? We have 3 options: an X-bar against a known mu, paired samples, and independent samples. That's the order in which we learned them. Which one of these do you think goes along with this data? Jeopardy music. Now, here's the deal. I gave you a mu, so it's of course going to be an X-bar against a known mu. If you were putting this into SPSS, you would set as the criteria value 2.85, and then see if your mean, which has an X-bar of 3.13, would be different from it. All right, so the other thing is, since the standard deviation here is not something that I gave you as a sigma in the population, in the Greek population, you're going to have to use S, and S is 0.84. That means when you go looking for your critical t value, well, it's going to be a t value. It's going to be off of the t-table. So in this case, your statistic for analysis is X bar. It goes against a mu, and the test ratio is going to be mu minus that X bar divided by S sub X bar. That is 0.84 divided by the square root of 37. That'd be your S sub X bar. All right? We're not going to actually run the test. We're just really trying to figure out how to get the right one. Next, you sample 45 non-Greek CNU students and get a mean GPA of 2.85. With a standard deviation of 0.61, you sample 29 Greek CNU students and get a mean GPA of 3.13. All right, great. What do you do here? Well, you're still comparing 2.85 to 3.13, but neither one of these are parameter anymore. 2.85 is one X bar, and 3.13 is another X bar. The sample size of the non-Greeks is 45, the sample size of the Greeks is 29. The only 2 options that we have left is independent samples or paired samples. Now, you can just kind of see here, because the sample sizes are different, that there's no way to pair up the Greek and the non-Greeks because they have different numbers. Even if they were the same sample size, there would be no reasonable way to pair up a given non-Greek with a given Greek. So they're just separate people. They're just different people, each one of which is contributing to the mean of their own group. So what kind of a t-test would this be? Leave your answer below in the comments. No, click like and share and subscribe. This is going to be independent samples t-test. You have the first group with an X bar of 2.85. You have the second group with an X bar of 3.13. And the statistic for analysis here then is going to be X bar sub 1 minus X bar sub 2. The test ratio then is going to be X bar sub 1 minus X bar sub 2 over S sub X bar sub 1 minus X bar sub 2. All right, so that's independent samples. Here's the third one, and I want you to recognize what it would look like to have these data in this format. 35 CNU students. I recorded their GPA in the semester before they rushed, and then I recorded their GPA in the semester after they rushed. Same students. That means that there's going to be a before score and an after score that reasonably go to and logically go together, so that you can take one person's score and subtract it from their own score at a different time. This gives us a paired samples t-test. So now there are 3 different ways to compare 2.85 to 3.13 about the same phenomena, GPA, about the same classification of people, Greek and non-Greek, but one of them is a known mu and another one is a sigma. The other one is a paired samples t-test, and the other one is an independent samples t-test. So again, it's not really about the question you're asking that determines what kind of hypothesis test you're going to use. What was really at stake is how you gather the data and what kind of data you